There's a moment between landing and leaving the airport that most travelers never truly understand. You're standing in that customs line, watching officers wave people through or pull them aside, and you wonder what makes the difference. Is it random? Is it luck? Or is there a hidden algorithm running behind those tired eyes and rehearsed questions? The truth is far more calculated than you think. Every question a customs officer asks you is part of a behavioral screening system developed over decades, refined by psychologists, and designed to detect deception before you finish your sentence. They're not just checking your bags. They're reading your microexpressions, measuring your response time, and comparing your answers against invisible risk profiles you never knew existed. In the next few minutes, you'll learn the 7 questions that quietly determine whether you walk out in 5 minutes or spend 3 hours in a windowless room explaining yourself. More importantly, you'll discover the psychological tactics behind each one and why certain answers trigger red flags while others make you invisible. If you want to understand the system that's been reading you this whole time, hit that like button and let's pull back the curtain. The first question you hear might sound like polite conversation, but it's actually a cognitive baseline test. When an officer asks, "How was your flight?" they're not making small talk. They're establishing how you speak when you're relaxed so they can measure any deviations later. This technique comes from a behavioral analysis program called SPOT, Screening of Passengers by Observation Technique, developed by the Transportation Security Administration after studying Israeli border security methods. Here's what most travelers don't realize. Your answer to this throwaway question creates a linguistic fingerprint. The officer notes your speech pace, eye contact patterns, and body language when discussing something neutral. Then, when the real questions begin, they're watching for changes. If you suddenly start blinking faster, touching your face, or speaking in shorter sentences, those shifts register as stress indicators. The science behind this is fascinating. A study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that establishing conversational baselines increased deception detection rates by 37% compared to jumping straight into interrogation-style questions. Officers know that guilty travelers often seem calm at first, then show physiological stress responses only when direct questions arrive. By chatting casually, they're building a control sample of your normal behavior. So when you hear that friendly opener, answer naturally. Keep your tone the same throughout the conversation, because the moment your voice pitch changes or your hands start fidgeting, they've already marked you for deeper screening. Now comes the question where most travelers accidentally incriminate themselves without realizing it. The officer leans forward slightly and asks, "Are you bringing anything back for someone else?" On the surface, it's about gifts and shopping, but psychologically, this is a projection test designed to make you reveal intent you didn't know you were hiding. Here's the hidden mechanism. Customs officers know that smugglers and traffickers often rationalize their crimes by framing themselves as helpers, carrying drugs for a friend, transporting cash for family, bringing prohibited items as favors. The question is phrased to activate that defensive justification reflex. Data from Customs and Border Protection shows that over 60% of seized contraband cases involve passengers who voluntarily mentioned helping someone during initial questioning. They weren't asked to elaborate. They simply couldn't stop themselves from over-explaining. It's a phenomenon psychologists call confession contamination, the urge to justify suspicious behavior by providing context that actually proves guilt. The correct answer here is surgical in its simplicity. If you bought souvenirs or gifts, say, "Yes, just some gifts for family," and stop talking. If you're carrying something for someone else, you better know exactly what it is because they will ask you to describe it. And if your description doesn't match what's in your bag, you've just triggered a full inspection. This next question seems straightforward until you realize it's actually a memory stress test. The officer asks, "What did you purchase during your trip?" And suddenly your mind is racing through days of transactions, trying to remember if you declared everything on that little card you filled out on the plane. What you're experiencing in that moment is called cognitive load, and customs officers are trained to exploit that. Honest travelers often hesitate because they're genuinely trying to recall. Deceptive travelers hesitate because they're calculating what's safe to mention. But to an observer, both hesitations look identical. So the officer watches what comes after the pause. Truthful people tend to reconstruct memories chronologically. They'll say something like, well, I bought some coffee on the second day, then I got a few shirts at the market. Liars, according to research from John Jay College of Criminal Justice, tend to answer in categories rather than sequences. They'll say something like, just clothes and food items. Because they're not recalling actual events, they're providing a cover story. If you want insider secrets on how these patterns actually work, go ahead and smash that like button, because what comes next reveals the question that catches even experienced travelers off guard. The officer glances at your passport, then back at you, and asks, how much cash are you carrying? Most people stumble here, not because they're hiding money, but because they genuinely don't know the exact amount. Maybe you have $200 in your wallet, some euros left over from a previous trip, and you think that's fine because it's under the declaration threshold. But here's the trap. In the United States, you're required to declare anything over $10,000. In the European Union, it's also 10,000 euros. But in Australia, it's 10,000 Australian dollars, which is roughly 6,500 US dollars. And failing to declare, even by honest mistake, can result in immediate seizure. The psychological tactic here is precision pressure. Officers know that people who are lying about cash tend to give suspiciously round numbers. If you say about $5,000, that's a cognitive shortcut consistent with estimation. But if you say $4,950, that's oddly specific, which suggests you counted it carefully because you're trying to stay just under a reporting threshold. Here's what border security won't tell you. They're not just listening to your answer. They're watching your hands. A study from the Department of Homeland Security found that passengers concealing large amounts of cash unconsciously touch or adjust their clothing near where the money is hidden. It's called protective touching, and it happens without conscious thought. The smartest move is to know your exact amount before you land, and if you're close to any declaration threshold, just declare it. Because the cost of getting this wrong isn't just a fine, it's asset forfeiture, which means they keep your money and you spend months fighting to get it back. Then comes the question that travelers think is about geography, but is actually about pattern recognition. The officer asks, which countries did you visit on this trip? And what they're really doing is running your itinerary through a mental risk matrix. Certain travel patterns light up red flags faster than anything you could say. Here's what that matrix looks like. If you visited Colombia, then Brazil, then the United States, you've just traced a known drug trafficking route. If you flew to Thailand, then Cambodia, then returned home, that's a common pattern for sex tourism monitoring. If you've been to Turkey, then Jordan, then back to Europe, you're hitting geopolitical hotspots that trigger enhanced screening. These aren't accusations. They're statistical correlations drawn from decades of smuggling data. Customs and Border Protection uses a system called the Automated Targeting System, which assigns risk scores based on travel history, nationality, and flight patterns. A 2019 audit revealed that passengers visiting 3 or more high-risk countries in a single trip are 11 times more likely to face secondary inspection, regardless of their answers. Your words don't matter as much as the dots your passport stamps connect. If you're watching this from the United States, drop your state below in the comments. I'm curious to see where our travelers are coming from. And if this is resonating with you so far, tap that like button, because the next 2 questions reveal how officers use psychological pressure in ways you never expected. Now we reach the question designed to see if you'll slip under pressure. The officer asks, did anyone ask you to carry anything for them? And suddenly, every innocent favor you've ever done flashes through your mind. This question exists because of a phenomenon called blind mules, travelers who unknowingly transport contraband that someone else placed in their luggage. It happens more often than you think. A 2021 report from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime found that 12% of drug seizures at international airports involve passengers who claimed they had no knowledge of the substances in their bags. The psychological pressure here is subtle but effective. If you hesitate, even for a second, the officer wonders why. If you over-explain, saying, no, definitely not, I packed everything myself, that excess defensiveness registers as suspicious. The cleanest answer is a simple, calm no. One word, no elaboration. Because every additional sentence you add is an opportunity to contradict yourself later. And here's the hidden mechanism. It's called the guilty knowledge effect. If you're concealing something, hearing this open-ended question creates a spike in cognitive load because your brain has to actively suppress the truth while formulating a false response. That suppression is exhausting, and it leaks through your behavior in ways you don't control. But there's also a trap here for innocent people. If you overthink this question and start volunteering irrelevant details, you can accidentally create new suspicions. Saying, well, I did buy some chocolates, but I didn't think I had to declare food, might seem helpful, but now you've introduced a variable they weren't even considering. The rule is this: if you've answered everything truthfully and declared everything properly, just say, no, that's everything, and let the process finish. Don't fill silence with chatter. Don't offer information they didn't ask for, because customs and immigration officers are experts at letting people talk themselves into trouble. And that's the real secret behind every single one of these questions. They're not designed to catch criminals through interrogation. They're designed to make criminals catch themselves through behavior. The questions are psychological levers, pulling on your cognitive load, your memory, your fear, your need to seem helpful. And once you see the pattern, you stop reacting and start responding. You've now seen the 7 questions that quietly shape whether you breeze through or get detained. These aren't random checks. They're precision instruments built on decades of behavioral psychology, and now you know exactly how they work. The officers aren't trying to trick you, they're trying to read you. And once you understand the game, you stop feeling like a suspect and start moving like someone who belongs. If this breakdown changed how you'll approach customs next time, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who's about to travel. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because next time we're going deep into what actually happens during secondary screening. The rooms you're not supposed to see, the questions they don't ask in public, and the statistical patterns that determine who gets detained and who walks free. It's the video that could save you hours of stress on your next trip. Safe travels, and remember, in the world of customs and immigration, confidence isn't arrogance. It's proof you know your own story.